Okay, so let's have a look at these here, guys. All right, each one will be out of 3 marks. Okay, you'll get 1 mark for each for having the products. You'll have 1 mark for having, 1 mark for each of the products and 1 mark for the balancing. All right, which means question number 2, you're actually going to get kind of 2 marks for one thing, but that's all right. Okay. All right, for number 1, I've got beryllium sulfide reacting with bromine. So ionic compound reacting with element. What kind of reaction? Single replacement. Okay, and bromine is a non-metal, so it will be replacing sulfur. All right, so that means we are going to have beryllium bromide and sulfur. All right, we're supposed to check for specials. S8, 1 mark. Okay, and we have to drop and swap. Beryllium is +2, bromine is -1, so Be, Br2, 1 mark. All right, then we have to balance the whole thing. Start with the thing in the biggest number, that's sulfur, so we need an 8 over here, so we need 8 berylliums and 8 bromines. Okay, so that one's out of 3. All right, number 2, same idea here. We've got nitrogen reacting with potassium. So what kind of reaction is that? Synthesis. So we got to make a compound out of that. Now, I put it in this order on purpose, just to see how many people it would snag. Metals are always listed first in an ionic compound. That's what this question is checking, whether you recognize that or not. So I'll give them 1 mark if they put them together, but I'll give them the 2nd mark if they're in the right order and it looks like that. Okay, because swapped and dropped, it's K3N. If they have NK3, they only get 1 mark. Okay, to get the full 2 marks for the products, they have to have put it in the right order. All right, dirty trick. Okay. But, I mean, we should know, right, that we should put metals first. All right, then we got to balance the whole reaction. I could do potassium first by our rule, but I'll just end up changing it anyway because there's 2 nitrogens over here. All right, so I'm going to put a 2 here, which gives me 6 potassiums, and now it's balanced. All right, for number 3, I have a double replacement reaction between 2 ionic compounds, both containing polyatomic ions. So, in a double replacement reaction, we swap metals. All right, so Na, its new partner, is going to be SO4, okay, and that is going to be Na2SO4. 1 mark for that. And copper is going to be with hydroxide. And on this side, copper had what charge? 2. So over here, it also has 2. So we should have CuOH2. 1 mark for that. It has to be in brackets, otherwise it's not copper hydroxide. It's copper and oxygen and 2 hydrogens. It's not the same thing. All right. Now, for balancing. Okay, we have to look at what we've got out of place here, and that would be sodium and hydroxide. So a 2 there will fix them right up. Okay, does it have to go Na2SO4 and then CuOH? No, it doesn't. CuOH could be first and Na2SO4 could be second. That doesn't matter as long as they have those things on that side. Okay, number 4, we've got a combustion reaction, and we have to predict the products. What are always the products? CO2 and water. Always. Give them a mark. 1 for CO2, 1 for water. And then we have to balance alphabetically. Do we apply the rule of 2 here? Yes, we do. All right, 2 times 4 is 8. So we need 8 there. 2 times 10 is 20. 10 times 2 is 20. 8 times 2 is 16 plus 10 more is 26, so we need 13 here. So 2, 13, 8, and 10, okay, for the balancing mark. And last one, we've got manganese and chlorine together, decomposing into manganese and chlorine. Either of those special? Yes, chlorine is special. 1 mark for manganese, 1 mark for Cl2, and then to balance, we need a 2 there. and that'll do it. Tests out of 15. Okay, please give him a mark out of 15. Let him see it. Put it in the box, then come back to your desk and I'll explain the next thing here. There was, all right. Well, when you look at this assignment, it looks like it should be very straightforward. Inevitably, I have people lose marks, not because they didn't know how to do it, but because they forgot to do something. All right? And inevitably, it's because they didn't listen right now when I explained exactly what it is they need to do. All right? So you may want to highlight or underline some of the instructions on each of the 3 sections, okay? Because the 3 sections, 10 questions in each section, are a little bit different. So you want to make sure you're doing everything that needs to be done so you get all the marks in each section. In the first section, okay, you are balancing the reactions and writing them out in words. Okay, inevitably I have people just balance and they get 1 out of 3 for every one of those. That sucks. Okay, because quite frankly writing them out in words is pretty easy. It's just naming the ionic compounds. All right, so we definitely want to make sure we are doing both. Okay, the balancing and writing in words. Please do both. Things to remember in this section. All right, because I often see people forget things like this. Don't forget things like Roman numerals on multivalent metals. Okay, what I'm saying essentially here is don't rush. All right, make sure you do all those little things when you're writing it out in words. Okay, if you need prefixes, remember prefixes, or if it's ionic, remember not to. Okay, things like that. Okay, so that's all there is for section 1. Balance the reactions and write it out in words. There are 2 questions out of the 10 that I would say are difficult balancing questions, and the rest are all typical, like what you've done in the past. Okay, the 2 that are maybe a little more difficult are 4 and 7. All right, they are probably the 2 tougher ones, but okay, that's kind of our, that's where the bar is. Okay, everybody can do pretty well. Everyone can handle these ones for the most part, and these ones tell me who really knows their stuff. All right, so there's 2 like that, probably in each section. Okay, questions on the first section. All right. In the second section, all right, you're given the entire reaction in words. You have to write it out in formula form and identify the type and balance. Okay, so you are going to, all right, identify the type of reaction. Please remember to do that. That's the thing people forget to do on this set of 10 questions. Is that the easiest 10 marks ever? Yeah. Okay, but inevitably people forget to do it, and all they had to do was write DR or sin beside something, and it was a mark. Okay, just make sure you do it. All right, write a balanced chemical equation. So in this one, you'll get 1 mark for identifying the reaction type. You'll get 1 mark for having all of the compounds written with proper formulas. 1 mark, okay? And then 1 mark for balancing. Here's the thing. You do have to be pretty careful in this section, because if you don't write all of the compounds correctly, will you balance it correctly? No. All right, so you have to make sure that you do both. Always check all of your swaps and drops. Okay? Swaps and drops are really, really important in this section. Okay, because if you don't get them right, you won't get the balancing right, and you're going to get 1 out of 3 on a question where you mess up a formula. Okay, questions on that section? All right. Last section. Okay, all you have to do for the last section is predict the products and balance. You do not need to write in words. All right, so you are just predict and balance. It'll be just like your quiz was. You'll get 1 mark for each of the products and 1 mark for a balanced equation. Okay, everybody follow me there? So you don't need to write for these ones what kind of reaction. That's part of predicting the products. All right, so 1 mark for each of the products and 1 mark for balancing. Okay, and in a couple of those, like in any ones that are synthesis reactions, you get kind of a bonus there because obviously there's only 1 product. Okay, Brennan, question? If it's already balanced? Let's say if the whole equation is already balanced, put ones in. Okay. If it's if it's just one thing that needs a 1, if you leave it blank, I'll understand that because you'll have other numbers in there, and then I'll know that you did that one. Okay. But if it's all going to be 1s, please put in all the 1s so I know you did actually balance it. Okay. Questions on that? All right. You have 50 minutes left in class. I don't see you having too much trouble getting a really good start on this. All right, like honestly, guys, you should be able to get 3/4 of the way done at least if you stay focused on it. All right, so my intention was not for this to be a gargantuan amount of homework for you. That's why I'm giving you the whole class to do it. This is going to be due on October the 3rd. All right, that's a Thursday. That way I can get it marked and back to you on the Friday, and you'll have it to study over the weekend for your exam on the Monday. Okay? So that's as far away as I can make it do for you with it being able to have you use it. Okay? Yep. Everything. The whole reaction in words. Yep. On number 5, you know the prefixes for 2 and 6. Okay? So remember I had said that if you had numbers above the prefixes we had gone over, you could just call it fuel. You cannot call this one fuel. I purposely made the numbers small enough that you would know the prefixes. There's a big hint for you. It needs prefixes. In case you were thinking it didn't, it does. Okay? Okay. Question was, can we change any of the numbers in the reactions that you've written, in the formulas you have written? The answer is no. They're right. Okay? Remember, something like this. Copper has more than one possible charge. I have chosen the charge I chose. Okay? It may not be the most common one, but that's the one I chose. Don't, if you change any numbers in here, your answers will not match my key, and you will thus get it wrong. All right? So don't change any of the little numbers on the formulas in here. Guys, another good question just came up here, so I'm just going to quickly address it with you. Okay? Question like number 4 here. There is a tendency for people to make a naming mistake, so I'm kind of giving you a big tip here. All right? NO2 is on your table of polyatomic ions. But can ions exist by themselves? No. All right? This is not nitrite. This is a compound that is by itself, and thus must be named using the naming compounds rules. Everybody follow? All right, and there's probably a few other cases where that happens along the way. Just be aware of them. All right, if something looks like it should be something from your table of polyatomic ions, but it's by itself like this is a compound. All right, and has to be named as a compound, not as an ion. Ions are only ever part of compounds. Okay. Okay, another tip. Save you time, save me time. H2O and HOH have a common name. Water. Just write that. Okay. You don't have to name it hydrogen hydroxide or dihydrogen oxide or anything like that. It's just water. Call it that. No, you can leave it. If you've already done one and you've done it that way, you can leave it. But for the rest of it, water's water. Okay.